Hey, this is Carrie from Wrap Your Head Around Silks. This is the Expecting Aerials podcast. How you guys doing out there today? Wonderful to have you. Two things before we get started. Check the show notes for the free mini course by Wrap Your Head Around Silks. Always there for you to easily register. And then also, I am the guest artist choreographer for Womack and Bowman's Silk Stars in the month of April. It's a subscription site that they do for intermediate to advanced aerialists. So if you guys are in that category and you already subscribe, wonderful. I will see you there and in person during the Q&A. And if you're not subscribed, Carrie Wee has her own code, so it's in the show notes. You can subscribe. It opens for new subscribers this week, and they only open twice a year. So check that out. Today we have Brett Womack, the one and only from Womack and Bowman. He is my boss, and he suffered a shoulder injury over the pandemic that really became a journey for him. He partially tore his anterior labrum and ended up getting surgery. So I'm really excited for you guys to get to know Brett and hear his story. Let's get started. So my podcast listeners, this is Brett Womack. I know him as my friend and my boss, but what I think is so special is, Brett, you don't normally talk to, like, in person, talk to the world. No. Not usually. So, no, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people just interested in getting to know you and hearing your perspective on things. So Brett with Rachel Bowman, they own the Loft in LA. Womack and Bowman is also the Instagram that you probably follow. They have the Silk Stars, which I'm going to be the guest teacher of in April. That's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We just shot that last week. And for the subscribers, you guys are going to see me teach a combo on there. And Brett actually, he's a performer first, an aerialist first. And then him and Rachel opened up the Loft. How many years ago, Brett, has it been?
Has it been 8 years, 9 years, maybe?
Maybe 8 or 9, because I've been working there for probably 6 or 7, which is bananas. And they've built this amazing aerial community here in LA. They have an aerial community across the world digitally. And so they've done all the things. Like we do shows every year. The pandemic hit. We survived by, I think, maybe you and Rachel's utter bravery.
Honestly, I think we got very lucky. We had that roll-up door, which made it indoor-outdoor type classes where a lot of studios, struggled. And we were able to also just have one class at a time and limit class sizes. So I think we're just lucky, to be honest, as far as that goes.
We're lucky about the actual physical space that you guys had in the first place. And then, just that personal anxiety about, just going to debt. And I can't imagine. So I'm grateful for that, because if not, my practice would have really suffered too. But Brett, during the pandemic, he suffered a shoulder injury, and it definitely became a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It became a journey.
Actually, yeah. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, about the first week, I injured myself. So, I was like, okay, pandemic, I'm going to have all this time to train. And then next thing I know, I injured myself. So that changed the course of things.
Yeah. So before I ask you about your injury, because this episode is mostly about your injury and your recovery. But if you guys don't know Brett, I personally, Carrie Wee, feels like the world sleeps on Brett a little bit. And I also have as a performer, because my personal opinion, without being your employee, is that you're one of the best male aerialists in the world. Whenever people say to me, like, can you teach me that thing Brett did? I was like, no, I can't. And I don't know how to do it. No idea. His body does things that I don't know how it does it. And he's also one of the sweetest guys because there's a lot of male aerialists in LA and in the world. And there's, I want to say the commonality amongst all of them is like super crazy, like machismo and ego, which you don't tend to have. So
I don't tend to have it necessarily with others, but I tend to have it with myself, at least in the past.
Sure, maybe like beating yourself up type of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But so, he's just this enormous talent that's in our, in my backyard all the time. And so I'm going to include some videos. So if you don't know his practice, I'm going to share it with you. But so,
thanks,
yeah, so it's easy to look up to you and Rachel. It's very easy. It's not, it's you guys are like, what I love about working for you guys is that it doesn't feel constrained. Like I feel like I can be myself, and myself is a very, very big and very interesting personality that is kind of inappropriate half the time. So,
but that's what we love about you, Carrie. I mean, like I wouldn't want to hold you back.
I mean, I appreciate not being held back. It's like the best part because I feel like, for me, I go in there, many days a week, and if you had to put on a different face, that would be tiring. So I'm super grateful that I can be myself there. But okay, so enough about me.
So, like I said, I pretty much injured myself right at the beginning of the pandemic. And it wasn't anything that happened suddenly. It was, most likely because I was training a lot during the week and it was on a Friday and I was conditioning as usual. But sometimes I get into these just power modes where I just condition and not necessarily listen to my body. I was also training roll-ups. And as you know, roll-ups are very difficult and take a lot of wear and tear on your shoulders if you don't upkeep your shoulder strength. So I wasn't necessarily doing my shoulder exercises that I should have been doing to maintain stability and mobility in them. So I just kind of like, I haven't done roll-ups in a while. I'll just work on those. So anyway, I was fine until I kind of went home that night. And the next couple of nights, I realized that it was hurting a lot at night and I couldn't really sleep on it. And over the next week, it kind of gradually lost strength, which is generally a sign of a tear. So I kind of just didn't really think about it for a few weeks. And then after a certain point, I was like, I think something's pretty wrong with my shoulder. So I decided to get an MRI. And they told me I had a anterior partial labral tear. So I did rest it for a while, and but tears generally, they hurt and they don't really get much better unless you do a ton of physical therapy, and which I did, and it did get better, but over time, I just realized that it was never going to be the same, So I waited about a year before I had surgery, and a whole year, because I wanted to really, build our online program. We had started creating Silk Stars at that point, and it just wasn't a good time. I was like, well, I can still train on this. I can't do straight arm inverts. I can't do iron crosses anymore.
Oh, you could do some aerial.
I could, yeah. I was very fortunate. Like I only had a partial tear. I was still able to do a fair amount with bent arms, but roll-ups are out of the question, iron crosses, even push-ups I couldn't really do.
Oh, that's tough.
It was just painful. And I just felt like I had no support in that shoulder, like just unstable completely. So yeah, I kind of just babied it for a year and just got through. But that also, I think, made my recovery harder because my body was kind of a wreck by the time I had surgery. Because I just kind of let it go to a certain extent, I was like, well, I'm going to have the surgery, so I just don't have to keep it up perfectly,
Okay. And so what was the process with your doctor and your physical therapist to decide, like to get to the point where you're going to change course and get surgery? Because I think a lot of people out there suffer from partial tears, and it really depends on like where the tear is and how bad it is and all of that.
Yeah.
What was that
I mean,
process?
Yeah, because if you have a partial tear in your, rotator cuff, it's a lot less severe than if it's your labrum. The labrum is what really connects the shoulder into the socket. So that's generally, when people do get surgery. So, I got the MRI. I talked to my doctor. I actually just went to the one that was with my insurance, which I could have looked around, for other surgeons, but the one I found through my insurance had done this a lot, and he was a sports surgeon.
Okay.
So he wasn't very comforting, but he also said, like, I've done this a million times. So, like, to him, it was just like, whatever.
So he wasn't one that was like, I feel you, I understand what your needs are. He didn't do all that stuff.
Not at all. He was very just by the book, in and out, made it sound like this was, a walk in the park kind of thing. So in some ways that made me feel good, but I also kind of felt alone where I didn't really know how to take care of it. And I had to do a lot of that on my own, like figuring that out.
Outside of PT, when it came to like everyday things.
Yeah. I mean, even in PT, because, what we do is so high level and it's so extreme that, I went to PT after surgery and it was so basic. It was just, okay, let's make your arm go up and down and to the side. Whereas I had all kinds of other issues going on with my body, post surgery, it's like your whole body tenses up. So there's all these other consequences to it. Whereas you think, oh, I'll just get my shoulder back. No, you have to get your back to work. You have to stand up straight. You have to work on your flexibility, mobility, stability. It's like, it's a whole body process. At least it was for me.
Yeah.
To come
and
back.
Did you feel like you had, just from your own practice, did you feel like you had a good amount of tools? No. Okay. just wondering. Okay.
Yeah. It's weird because, I do mostly intermediate advanced stuff, and I just kind of wasn't training or teaching the simple basic stuff that you really have to start with when you're coming back from surgery. So my go-to is always to do more than I was ready for, if that makes sense. And also there's that ego of like, I should be more healed than I am now. So if I practice my physical therapy more, it means I'm going to get better faster, which is not always the case,
Yeah. It was the case I didn't go so far over what they wanted. You kind of went too far too fast afterwards.
Multiple times.
Uh-huh. Can you be specific?
Yeah. I mean, I had the surgery about a year ago now, almost to the date. And for the first, 5-6 weeks, you're just in a sling. So, you really can't do much. It's really challenging. But the physical therapy is such a like basic. They're teaching you how to lift your arm up again. Like you can't even lift your arm up past 45 degrees, for a few weeks.
And how painful was that first like 6 weeks of physical therapy?
It was painful, but also, you can still move around, you can walk around, it's more the emotional side of like not being able to use that arm. I felt more so was difficult than the pain, but it does hurt for sure. But anyway, the harder part was actually once you get the sling off and it actually started to feel better. And I had, range of motion going over my head again. Because at that point I was like, well, I want to start training aerial again,
Yeah, of course.
And he even kind of like hinted that I would be ready to do aerial in like 3 months after surgery. So I kind of held on to that idea and I was like, okay, well, if he says so, then I can do it, And in a lot of ways I kind of did. I was able to, climb about 3 months in, but then I was like, well, then I can go for a jog. And I did that. And then my whole shoulder just seized up. Like it was worse pain than I had felt the entire time after that jog. And it scared me because I thought that I had retorn my shoulder.
Oh.
And so for the next few weeks, I was just, we're in a really dark place. I was in pain and I didn't know what I had done, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And it was a jog. It
mm,
wasn't actually aerial loading that did it. So that's interesting.
yeah, it was just the impact of running on concrete because I was outside. I was like, I want to get some sun and jog in the sun.
Yeah, and there's that whole mental health piece of it where you're trying
Uh-huh.
to keep yourself balanced. And so exercise, number one, is what it's done for all of us forever.
Exactly. Yep.
It's our outlet. And then of course you want to get outside to get that vitamin
Yep.
D and, you know, your serotonin to go up. No, I mean, it can get really dark in your mind. Like I remember there was one point when, you know, this is 10 years ago, but after my leg surgery,
Mm-hmm.
I was learning how to walk again. And
Yep.
I don't know what it is about having a lower extremity injury that just makes you feel like the idea of having to raise your arm again is so basic, right? The idea of having to walk again, you know, it's something that we knew how to do when we were 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend Meredith kept on doing the tour that I had left. And she was like, you know, I'd see videos of her flying around for Taylor Swift and I was relearning how to walk.
Yeah.
And I didn't think my heart could be more broken. Not
Yeah.
because I was jealous of her, but because I wanted to be with her.
Yeah, and you wanted to do it
and do all of it. And now not only am I not doing that, I can't walk. And so you run an aerial business.
Yeah.
You literally run an aerial business. Like, what did that feel like I mean, obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic and that may have helped. Did it help at all that everybody was kind of not doing anything?
Maybe a little, I guess. But
I mean, I think it would have helped me.
yeah, but I didn't really accept that as like a reason to not get back in shape because I'd always, you know, for 20 years been an aerialist. So for me, it was even more so for my mental health to get back in the air, to feel, you know, confident again, which was interesting at the time because I just felt so vulnerable, you know, at that time. And I just needed, aerial has been such a, you know, place that makes you feel yourself, especially if you do it regularly and it's a form of expression and a form of
it's
exercise,
a form of
you know?
identity for most of us.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I know that us ladies, Brett is surrounded by aerialist women who have toddlers now. Surrounded.
I know, yeah.
Very quickly too. It was like all at once. And so we definitely talk about that all the time where our identity have to shift. And I feel like you did not birth a child, but going through an injury like this is the same ish idea of having to like deal with that identity crisis when you can't do it. And then you don't have the luxury of being able to be like, all right, I'm just not going to look at videos right now. I'm not going to be in it because you have to be because you're running the business. You're dealing with the students. You're dealing with the teachers. You're dealing with the studio. And when the toilet breaks down, you have to like deal with all of it. And there was a lot of stuff with the pandemic and the space. I just feel like emotionally that would have been really tough for me to be forced to deal with all the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of stuff that's not fun about it. And then not actually be able to do the fun part.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually kind of enjoyed the business side of it because it was something I could do. I was like, okay, I can at least run the studio and I can still be supportive to our students online. And it still gave me some, you know, purpose. I think that was the challenge. And it's funny too, because you mentioned, you know, all of you guys had babies but for me, it was like, I almost needed to, raise this inner child in myself, like as if I had this own baby that had been abandoned. And now I needed to comfort and raise this new child to be, you know, strong on its own without silks.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing, but it was kind of like raising a child during that recovery period.
No, and I think a lot of people out there might feel very resonant with that because you know, the idea of saying that you also have to be confident in yourself to say that that's a big deal because it is for all of us. But then when you actually bring like a human into the world, like I think more people understand that than maybe what you went through. And then having multiple times where you were like, okay, I'm going to get started back. And then you kind of hit a roadblock. I remember you also had some nerve issues in your neck.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was that?
So that was honestly even worse, to be honest, because about a couple months after I had that whole jogging accident, I was going back to a new physical therapist. I was actually working with Christina Nakaya, who is Fit and Bendy. Who's incredible. And she gave me all kinds of, interesting new ways to build my body back. But one of the exercises she gave me was a nerve gliding exercise because I had so much tension in my upper traps, neck area from stress and from, the arm in the sling and from the shoulder jogging thing. It was just, I had all this tension up there. So she was trying to get, my shoulders to drop down and relax and kind of build more support and mobility around my shoulders. So I was doing this nerve gliding exercise. And of course, she tells me, oh, do it once a day. And my ass goes, okay, I'll do it 3 times in one day, thinking that was going to make me get better faster. And what it did was it completely aggravated or tore even possibly this nerve in the side of my neck. And my whole neck seized up. And I had burning sensation down my arm. I couldn't turn my head to the left without neck spasms. And I had to wear a neck brace for 2 months. I couldn't move my neck for 2 months straight. And the whole injury lasted about 6 months, where I couldn't really do much aerial or anything at all without aggravating my neck.
So it was almost like a separate injury?
Yeah, it was. And it was my own fault because I just still had that mentality of more is better and not listening to my body. And, and then I injured myself. So definitely learned a lot from that.
Well, it's like, this is all of us. We all have this impatience.
Uh-huh.
If I could find an aerialist that gets injured and doesn't have an impatience around the recovery, I will never find that person. Never.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I'll never find that person. And I think it's part of the reason why, if you are in this, you got to be a bit obsessive because it's too hard to have that longevity and to be at that level for a long time. So this this mentality that we all have, it's kind of necessary, I think, after listening to many, many interviews as well.
As a professional, of course, right? Our job is to keep our body up and keep it, prepared, because you never know when a gig is going to come, especially as a freelancer, like we have to act ready, that's a responsibility you kind of take on in the professional world. So.
Yeah. And I actually got stung by that recently. Not that I'm so sad about it because it was borderline one of these like where it wasn't enough money anyway, but I didn't have like my acts ready. It was like last week.
Oh yeah.
Like it's been the pandemic. I don't have my acts fresh right now. Like I have like 3 or 4 acts and I cannot tell you the last time that I had them fresh. Like I don't have them fresh. And I know that you and Rachel just did a club night in the last couple of weeks and you guys were prepping for it.
Yeah, first show for me in over 2 years. So
yeah, so that was at a venue here in downtown LA. And they had some like rigging like snafus because they, the venue had rigged the point very, very close to an object in the room.
A tree. Yeah, they hung us from a tree. Like a man-made tree.
Like a man-made tree, but so to them it was like it could look cool because it was hanging from a tree, but it was way too close to the tree, so they couldn't spin.
Carrie, I'm 6'2", and it was like 2.5 feet from this tree. I was like, how am I supposed to not kick that? Okay, let me scratch that act and re-choreograph this act, and it was a lot. I was like, oh wow, this is a lot to do for a first gig back. So I relate to you. It was like when you don't have your acts ready and you have to do it in a short amount of time, it's another level.
Well, I also think that that's part of the reason why in a couple months you're going to have all your acts ready. Like you kind of, sometimes you need a reason.
Yeah.
Like, for example, last week I shot for Silk Stars with you guys. So this week I'm not doing any shoots. So if I wanted to, I could just like go head first into one of these acts. Am I going to? check with me next week. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't have, and I do have access. I'm lucky. Like I could go to Tanya's house and, if I wanted a little bit more aerial time, but I've got a kid, so I know you want to, she actually, like right before she went to sleep last night, she goes, Mama, I want to go to Tanya's house out of nowhere. The last time she went to Tanya's house, it was like 2 months ago. Like that, her memory is really good. Anyways, total tangent. But
maybe she wants to be an aerialist. You never know.
Or she wants to play with all of the toys that are there because they have like a million toys. They have way more toys than I have. Because Caper, Tanya's son, is a little older. They have tons of toys. She's obsessed. So I could go there and train, but it's kind of like if I had a gig this weekend for that act, I would have scheduled it already. You know?
Yeah. Well, same thing with me, like we may have another gig at this place in another month, but I probably won't rehearse until
right before,
a week or two before. It's hard, especially when you have other things, we both have our own businesses. We have things we got to do. So I get it. Like I generally wait to the last minute. As well.
I mean, it's, I just got to do it. So maybe my podcast listeners can be my accountability because I'll feel better when I have it done. So so tell me about your day. Because I'm actually personally very interested in this because Brett runs the brick and mortar. He runs the studio. Rachel and him, they all cross over and do work, but Rachel really focuses on the online if they were gonna, they kind of have their realm. So can you tell us, I think this is really interesting too, when Jill explained it for our audience, how? Like, what are the nuts and bolts? Like, how do you structure your day? How do you run the business? How do you do all of it? Because it's a lot of work.
It is, but it's very funny because I listen to Jill's as well. And where we're very different is she's very organized and I'm very, spontaneous.
Okay. I mean, I learned a lot from her because I kind of work on inspiration sometimes. And if the inspiration's not going in the same direction as the calendar, the inspiration usually wins for me. But I'd love to hear how you.
Yeah, I think it's weird because my days change so much. I don't necessarily have like a regular schedule. I try, plus what we do in Womack and Bowman is so, there's many different elements. So, some days I'm going to be editing videos all the day for Silk Stars. Whereas other days I'm creating a lot of content for the videos or, making a lot of phone calls and setting up guest teachers or, managing a sale at the loft or some sort of promotion, helping Rachel prepare with that. So it's really kind of changes throughout the week. Some weeks are nice, kind of slow and other weeks are super busy. So, but I think in general, I try to do some computer work in the mornings and then afternoons are kind of my training days. I go to the studio sometimes to train then. And then, I actually take a break in evenings and I'm a night person. So I'll work sometimes from 10 to 1 a.m. It's kind of like prime time sometimes for me. I don't know why, but my brain's ready to do numbers. And I do a lot of the behind the scenes for Womack and Bowman. So I'll do the crunching the numbers and stuff like that. So that's what I do.
So, what is your favorite part about your job and what's the part that you're like, ugh?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I mean, obviously the aerial part and the creativity part, running your own business and having that freedom to kind of create is just amazing. But then I guess the hardest part is managing fear, right? Like being a business owner and trying all these things, you never know what's going to happen. So it takes a great amount of risk taking, especially you never know what's going to happen. So managing fear, I think, that's probably the biggest challenge for me, and keeping that in check and making sure that I'm, not holding myself back or, making responsible decisions, things like that.
So managing your own fear of if something's going to happen or if it's going to be successful or not.
Yeah. Or just being like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like that's out of my comfort zone or, I guess it's a matter of taking risks and not letting that hold you back, because Rachel and I, we figured all this out trial and error. Neither of us went to business school. Neither of us really knew, how to run a business. So a lot of it was just kind of figuring it out as we go. So you can imagine we had a lot of, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm really impressed generally with that element that you say is the hardest part, because I feel like you guys really dive in. Like, you guys are pretty brave from my standpoint when it comes to starting new things and just doing the work, and, and the success kind of follows.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with the studio itself, though? Because, if there's different like versions of fear, but like you're in a very hazardous business. We are in a very hazardous business.
Yeah.
Is that always in your mind?
It is. But also, like having you and then the rest of the teachers at the studio definitely eases that, because I trust all of you and you're all brilliant. So, as far as like the classes go, I feel really good about it. And I also love what we're doing. We're creating this awesome community and everyone's getting to express themselves and dance in the air, and it's wonderful. So like all of that makes it all worth it. But of course, in the back of your head, you're like, what if something goes wrong? What if somebody falls? What if some equipment fails? Like there's always those thoughts, and, as a business owner, you're responsible. So I definitely think about those things, but I try not to keep it from holding me back, because I know deep down what we're doing is awesome, and it brings me so much joy at the same time.
Yeah. And I have to say, as an employee of Brett's, so what I love is that Rachel's not my first point of contact, because Rachel and I are friends, just friends. We were friends before any of this started. And it's nice that like I have a more of a boss that it's a little bit different, because me and Rachel, it can get a little bit complicated because we're such close friends. And Brett, we're friends, but he's my boss first. And I call him sometimes. I think the last time I called him because I was freaking out about something, he was on the way home from a vacation.
I was. That's right. I was in the flyaway. Like I was like trying to talk quietly. So I'm like, I'm doing a business call right now.
Like he's on a bus from the airport back to the valley, and I'm like on the phone. I'm like, I need to talk to you in 5 minutes. Are you there? And it was because a student did something weird and they didn't know where they were in the air. And it freaked me out. It just freaked me out, because as much hours as I put in at that studio, it's like something's going to happen sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
And that's normal. I think everybody has experienced that as a teacher. It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and usually I'm pretty chill in the studio and I'm laughing and having fun, but some stuff happens and he's the first person I call. And to your credit, you're the business owner, and I think that you could take on a lot of that stress and like kind of like mirror it right back at me, but you don't. You don't. You just listen and you tell me it's going to be fine. And it is. And it is usually. And I think that's really hard to do because we're in a hazardous business and you're managing everybody's personalities. I mean, I'm really reliable when it comes to showing up, but like I'm an emotional person, and I admit to it. So, and then you have me times however many staff members you have. So that's a lot of people. And then to be dealing with all of that the last 2 years, plus the pandemic, plus you had this injury, it's just a lot, I think.
It is, but I think all of it, I think I've always been a compassionate person, but I think that even as a business owner, you have to be, because, things are going to happen, and it's important that we stay connected with each other and support each other, because it's just too hard to take on these things alone. It's a lot that can possibly happen, and different personalities and different people's, will try things during class, and who knows, they might hurt themselves. And it's just kind of the name of the game, and I want to be there to support you through that, because at the end of the day, as long as, everybody's okay, everything's going to work out,
I've worked for studios before, and the owner does not have my back. And that is the number one reason I left out of all the other reasons. Oh my God. I make this podcast about me all the time, and I don't mean to do it. So looking forward, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, Bean. Looking forward, tell us how your shoulder is now. I'm probably going to mute myself after I ask this question because she's really excited right now. Tell us how the shoulder feels now, what you're doing for it, what kind of maintenance you have to do on it, especially for those people out there with labrum tears, and what that's like to maintain an injury that even has been surgically fixed, but it kind of never ends, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So I guess after my neck injury, I had to really take my time with the shoulder, and so that took almost 6 months, and I just had my first gig a couple weeks ago. So I had to get back in shape pretty quickly for that. I managed to kind of get performance ready in about a month, I'd say. But during that time, I've really changed the way I've trained. I used to kind of, maintain everything. But now I'm really focusing on the tiny details of my body, which I had never done before, and listening to my body. So what I do now is a lot of TheraBand work, a lot of light weights. I'll do a lot of different shoulder exercises, isolations. I do a much longer warm-up now before any training session. It's kind of cool. I kind of feel like I'm learning new things about my body by taking things slower, whereas I used to just, push through much faster. I'm also training some Pilates as well as gyrotonics. I don't know if you know Tavy Sturts, but he's teaching me some gyrotonics.
Oh, yeah, I know Tavy. Tavy and Jane. Yeah, they have deconstruction arts.
Yep. Yeah. And Tavy is such a sweetheart, and he's, aerialist dancer as well. And he's just teaching me all these different things on gyrotonics, which are helping me open up space. Whereas I think in aerial, sometimes we get very compacted, like the muscles kind of can weigh us down, especially in the shoulder area. Whereas everything in gyrotonics is about creating space and opening up, mobility, and it feels really good. So I think that I'm going to keep working on that and working on, exploring different movement styles and just learning in general. Because I think for a long time, I didn't ask for help or go reach out to others for knowledge. Whereas now I think I'm much more open to that and excited about that, training with others and learning more. Because once you're injured, you're like, I really don't want this to happen again. So I'm going to keep on that road of discovery and learning new techniques to, prevent injury in the future.
Yeah. When it comes to your flexibility and your strength, what was harder to build back? And are your shoulders, are they as flexible as they were before?
Flexibility, I would say yes, are feeling pretty good. It's maybe slightly less flexible than my right. The one that had surgery is slightly less flexible, but just by a little bit. I did work a lot on that early on to gain that mobility back. Strength-wise, I don't think I'm back to 100% yet, but also I had such a slow road to recovery compared to some other aerialists maybe who didn't have the same, hiccups along the way. So I'm still building strength. But now that I kind of have some time and I don't have a show coming up, that's like my goal now, is to just really build strength.
And so are you back to what you would normally do pre-injury, like when it comes to the amount of sessions you do per week? The amount of training you do?
Not quite.
Okay.
But almost.
Okay.
I'm up 2 times a week now. My goal is to get back to 3 times a week. But what's great is, when I was injured, I had that tear, I couldn't do any drops. I couldn't do any, push-ups or anything. And now it's like, I know I can do all those things again and it doesn't hurt. So I'm excited to like, I did a double star for the first time in like 2 years practically. I was like, okay, my shoulder feels good. So now's the time for me to, take it to the next level. So I'm excited.
My ankle is pretty much, I would consider 100%, but it's like, it doesn't surprise me if there's here and there something, because it went through this trauma, so I'm sure things will come up here and there, but hopefully it'll be manageable and it won't be like.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even after that show we did, I had a little bit of tendonitis, I think, from pushing it a bit. And, but I've been icing it and it seems to be responding well. So yeah, like old injuries definitely have flare ups, and it's important to baby them and listen to them and make sure you don't, overdo it.
And do you think that the partner work is more aggravating to it, or the actual your own stuff with just you up there?
I would say my own stuff for sure. What Rachel and I does is, there isn't a lot of impact dynamic. I'm doing mostly basing with her, so that feels pretty good to me. It's definitely the, drops, roll-ups, thrashing, dynamic stuff that I tend to get too excited. And
of course, that's what we all do, because I mean, the act that you guys did with that damn tree 2 feet away, you're basing her and you guys are doing hand grips and like changing grips. But like, I can imagine if you're basing, you're looking down at her, you can really engage your shoulders correctly. And it's like slow enough. Whereas like your silks work is just like a tornado. Your rope work is like a tornado. And I know that in your mind, you're protecting yourself as you're doing it, but it's just, there's only so much you can protect when you're performing like that.
There's only so much you can protect. Yeah. And something that I really love about aerial and I'm passionate about is transitions. And I think that transitions that are too slow or just kind of clunky really irk me.
Yeah, like you're not interested in doing that. You want to, you want to have that syncopation and that speed going into it. I always teach the choreography where you're in a footlock and the opposite hand is up and you go around the pole.
Uh-huh.
I call that bow. So when I'm teaching that, I was like, if you guys remind me to find this video of Brett doing this in a performance, I think it was outside, it was windy.
Oh, yeah.
And you have your hand attached. And because I'm always trying to ask them to bring their hips way far out, right? But they're like, my grip. I was like, yeah, but we build it. And they're like, but what do you mean by far? I was like, okay, wait, let me find this video of Brett doing this particular choreography, because I swear you were so far. Like you swung out so far. You did like multiple pirouettes before you hit the next pose.
Uh-huh.
And that's like always my example of how to do this technique correctly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you need that space to dive through, or, you could be stuck.
And so that's hand grip. But then like, how did your shoulder do with that twisting motion?
That's one I haven't honestly explored so much yet.
Okay. Wait, and it's your right or left hand?
Yeah.
Which one?
On my left.
It's your left.
Yeah.
So that are you right footlock base normally?
I am, yeah.
Okay,
so,
it would be your left shoulder then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, just to clarify, you're talking about a crochet hand grip, a one-arm crochet.
One-arm crochet grip when you're in a regular footlock and like going around the pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. That's what I'm talking about.
That's a lot of shoulders.
It's a lot of shoulders. It's a lot of grip. It's a lot of shoulders. And you do it the best that I've seen. So I got to find that. I don't know if you have that video anywhere, but I'll probably put that, since we're talking about it, put that video up.
Me too.
So that's something that you'll get to, because I'm sure with your injury, you have worked in things in your practice currently that are not super extreme on your shoulder, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. I've been babying it.
Are you doing skin the cat? Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. Yep. But like skin the cats, that crochet arm grip, one arm stuff, that I'm still kind of easing into. I just, after everything I've been through, I'm like really careful.
Right. It's not worth it to injure yourself and put yourself back 6 months just because you got excited about one thing.
We'll see. We'll see though. Maybe in a few months when I feel stronger, I'll get back into that.
And were you ever the guy who did like reverse meat hook and like flag.
Yeah.
You were that person. Okay.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Reverse meat hook. I do it on silks. You can do it on silks with a little bit of support if you have a wrap. So I've been kind of like diving into that a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you can build back with like any kind of straps or bands to work on those, that's what I would recommend, because you don't want to just jump, 0 to 60 in, a short amount of time when you're coming back from an injury. So I've definitely eased back into those things for sure.
Okay. I'm really glad we got into the specifics, because I know a lot of my listeners who go through these injuries, they're looking for that. They're looking to be like, okay, who did what when?
Yep.
And how does that feel on me? I had somebody write me recently who she just found out she was pregnant and she has 3 months left of a contract.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And she was like, I've gone through all your episodes and no one gives me the exact answer. It's just like, okay, wait. So let me break down what I've gathered from all of my interviews, and I hope that helps. And she did say it did help, but she's like, the doctor's not going to know. I'm like, yeah, that's true. They're not. And
no one's really going to know unless you are really, it's really up to you. You have to be aware of your own body, and that's not always, easy to read as well.
Yeah. There's anecdotal evidence. There's like, people like you and me talking about our injuries. But at the end of the day, we have to be more mindful and more aware of our own bodies than anybody else in the world. Like you know your body the best.
Exactly.
And then you take all the information that you can gather and you try to make a good decision for yourself. And then remind yourself that there's time.
There is time. And that's something I learned too, was like, there's time. And it's so wonderful now to finally allow myself that freedom, because it really comes down to your own head of like, I need to get back by this point or this, and that's, none of that's really true. It's not worth re-injuring yourself, it's just.
Yeah. I had a student ask me when I was the strongest I've ever been. I was like, 2022, December? Like, I'm hoping, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to say that the strongest I've ever been was 5 years ago, but it is currently. But I want to get back to that place. But, it's definitely like a head, sorry, being head fuck. It's totally. And then, but then I look at people like Drea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there's time. There's totally time. So.
There is definitely time. There are airless in our Silk Stars program who are in their 60s.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Which I might see them very soon, because we do the Q&A and I can help answer your questions. It's almost like you planned that segue. I know you didn't. So Brett, this is great timing, because Silk Stars opens for registration. They open it maybe twice a year. Brett, give me the dates of the open registration for Silk Stars for this time around.
Yeah, so we're going to be opening up on Thursday, the 31st. And just for a short amount of time. We only open up for a few days. So if you're interested, definitely look into that.
Yeah, there's going to be a link in the show notes. I have my own code. Carrie Wee has her own code. And you can click on there and find all the information out. Brett, can you tell us a little bit about what Silk Stars is?
Yeah. So Silk Stars is an online membership site, and for intermediate advanced level silks artists, we teach a new combination each month, and we also have a mini rig version. So if you don't have enough height, we have basically a second combination for you that you can learn, and then we also have a ground workout each month, as well as a demonstration of the combination to music. And each month, it's all new content. We have guest teachers that come and join us occasionally, like you, Carrie Wee, next month. Very excited. The program also comes with a live Q&A each month, where we go over all of the questions from the forum. We have an online forum where you can post questions at any time and connect with other aerialists around the world. And then, we go over them at the Q&A and go into much further detail, anything you guys need to know about these combinations. Because at the end of the month, you can film and submit your combination and post it on your profile inside the website. And then we're going to give you reviews and stars at the end of the month. So you can get 1 to 5 stars, depending on how you executed the combination. We look for things like technique and form and style and presentation. So we definitely encourage expression and performance quality. So if you're new to that, this is a great program to kind of learn how, Rachel and I go on Instagram all the time and, improvise to music, our combination. So we're really trying to encourage the rest of the community to really embrace this art form versus just doing, a silk sequence, just doing the technique of it, right? Like there's so much more you can do with it as far as artistry. So we encourage that with the program, and we want to reward everyone in the program for doing so. So you can earn prizes as well. So say you earn 25 stars, you're going to get a bonus video or, something special will be sent to you. So it's a really cool program. I really love it. And I love everyone in the program too. Everyone's like super into it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome that you can get feedback because, if you just learn something on your own and there's no community around it. And the other thing that's really great is that, our studio is very focused on dancing in the air. And I think this is one of the biggest questions I get from more advanced students is how do I learn this? And regardless of your style, you have to practice doing it.
Yes.
You have to practice doing it. You're never going to find it if you don't practice it. It's not just like a tip.
Yes.
You have to do it. And so there's a lot of ways to do that. This is a really great way to have a little structure around that. So
exactly. We try to emphasize within the combination where a good place is that you can add flair, because sometimes students will get lost. Like I want to add style and personality, but I don't know when to do it or where to do it. And there are actually specific places in the air that are better than others to add some extra pizzazz. So we try to really break that down for our students.
I love that. And there's going to be a code in the show notes. You guys just go look down in the show notes for that. You can click to it and it'll go straight to Silk Stars and you guys can register and see your favorite podcaster.
Yes. Carrie
in April.
Running the show. I can't wait.
We were shooting and they were, because they're trying to figure out how to make it consistent, production wise. So they're like, Carrie, do it again and just less. They actually didn't tell me that. No, because I like to talk. I have a podcast. I love to talk and I love giving specifics. I'm super passionate about it. So it's always fun working with you guys. But yeah, Silk Stars is great for if you're out there, maybe you don't have local teachers you can go to and it's hard to travel sometimes. It's a really great way to challenge yourself with different combinations and sequences without just doing the thing where you look it up online and guess. Because we're giving full instruction, safety requirements, everything.
Yeah, that was a big reason. I'm I worry about people learning off of YouTube. I mean, there's so many things that have so many details to them.
Oh my God, yes.
So it's important to learn safely for sure. I mean, it's the future, right? So many people now are learning online.
Yeah, we all have our version of it where, we have our platforms that are great for different types of aerialists, So I really am excited for you guys. I'm excited to be a part of it. And then, I think about how many cues I want to give for a sequence that basically has 2 main parts. And then I think about people doing stuff off the internet. If you miss that one hand grip at the wrong place, it could change the whole thing. It's super dangerous,
Yeah.
So I think it's a really great way for people to get challenged, safely. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so much fun shooting with you, Carrie. I think they're going to love your combo.
Oh my God. I'm so psyched for people to see it. And then, And then I'm really excited for people to hear your story because, even the email, you guys sent out an email talking about your shoulder injury. And
I was going to say, yeah, if you want to hear more details of my, mental health issues that went along with it, I definitely go in more detail. So,
in the blog. Yeah.
Yeah. And a few more details too about different things I did physically. So yeah, go into our blog, our websites, womackandbowman.com.
Cool. And they can read all about it. Yeah. Awesome. And if you're ever in LA for a traincation, I think they call it, come stop by and come take class at the Loft. I'm there. Yeah. I'm there every week.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Brett, for being here. Loved having you on. So much fun. And check the show notes for both the registration for the mini course and the Silk Stars code. So excited for you guys to see that combination I've got for you. And I do a dance too. I teach you guys a modern dance at the beginning. All right. So if you would please honor me with a 5-star rating and a review anywhere you get your podcasts. Find me on Instagram at CarrieWee1 and on Twitter at Carrie_Wee. I'm so excited for you guys to be here. I appreciate you. I love you guys. And I'll see you next time. This is the Expecting Aerials podcast.